Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here with another day of tech as MWC rolls on, and I just can't wait to get to our top story, so snip! It is February 26, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. If I didn't know any better, I would say Energizer is trolling us, and trolling us in a magnificent and deliciously evil way at that. There's a concept in logic called argumentum ad absurdum, which is Latin for argument to absurdity. In an argument, someone will make a counterpoint to your argument that takes things to the extreme and therefore prove that it's not valid. So what does that have to do with tech, bro? Well, for as long as I've been in this industry, a common theme in smartphones has been people won't mind a thicker phone as long as you put in a bigger battery. If you want to add a few millimeters and turn that 3,500 milliamp hour battery into a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, I'd be fine with that. Oh yeah, says Energizer? Hold my beer. And finally, we get to the subject of today's top story, because allow me to introduce you to the Energizer Power Max P18K Pop. But wait, the name is not the most ridiculous part. This phone has an 18,000 milliamp hour battery in it. Or maybe it's more accurate to say what The Verge says. This is an 18,000 milliamp hour battery that has a phone in it. This phone is, put simply, ridiculous. It is 4/5 of an inch thick. That's 18 millimeters for those of you who use sensible measurements. Put that into perspective, and I'm quoting Android Authority here, quote, "The Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus battery comes in at 4,100 milliamp hours, and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro battery capacity is 4,200 milliamp hours, and the Apple iPhone XS Max has a 3,174 milliamp hour battery." Seriously, Apple? Anyway, last year's average Android flagship phone had something around 3,500 milliamp hours. So, what do you get from an 18,000 milliamp hour battery then? You get about a week's worth of battery life, you get 2 full continuous days of video playback, and you get a metal brick you can fend off attackers with. This thing comes with fast charging, and it still takes 8 to 9 hours to recharge. The fastest charging phone that I've ever used is the Oppo R17 Pro with a 3,700 milliamp hour battery that charges in 36 minutes. Are you dizzy yet? The rest of the specifications, well, I mean, let's face it, the rest of the specifications don't matter because holy Jesus, that battery. But the rest of the phone rounds out with a triple rear camera, a MediaTek Helio P70 chipset, and 6 gigabytes of RAM. This phone has a pop-up selfie camera with 2 sensors in it, so the front of the phone is all screen, no notch, but there's still no headphone jack. Seriously? This thing is 18 millimeters thick and you couldn't fit in a headphone jack? Anyway, further details on the phone are a little sketchy. This phone won't be released until the coming summer at a price of around 599 euros, but still, where does that leave us? Well, this phone exists, that's for sure, but will droves of people rush out to put their money where their mouths are? You want a thicker phone with a thicker battery, here you go! No, people won't do that because this phone is completely ridiculous. No one should buy this. Well, actually, that's not true. People who should buy this are people that frankly don't have regular access to power. I mean, this phone will last for weeks on standby. If you're an avid backpacker or someone who goes off the grid frequently or someone who just doesn't have reliable access to power, this is honestly not a terrible option. If you're a businessman commuting on the train, then just go ahead and get off at the Nope station because this is not for you. But you can bet that if I ever have a chance to review this phone, I will spend at least a day on the train going back and forth just waiting for the comments. But for now, we'll just drop that phone into a sock and hit Gomer Pyle in the stomach with it because it is time for the Roundup! And speaking of absurd, Nubia released a flexible screen smartwatch/phone hybrid that wraps around your wrist like a gauntlet of power straight out of Dungeons & Dragons. It runs a custom version of Android, and it allows phone and video calls. It has a camera built into it, because of course it does. And it costs $500, because of course it does. CNET's Jessica Dalcourt had a rare opportunity to actually use Huawei's foldable, the Huawei Mate X, that we reported on yesterday, and there were two parts of her story that really stood out to me. The first was, quote, "This is more a device that you carry around like a tablet or a laptop," and the second was, quote, "Huawei has also made a case that will cover the Mate X's side and back in its folded form, leaving an open window for the 6.6-inch display." So I would think that having a phone that unfolds into a tablet seems like a great way to have, a phone and a tablet at the same time. But Jessica's account seems to not back that up, which opens up a whole can of questions in my mind. I'll be keeping a close eye on any other hands-on accounts that come out of MWC, and trust me, they are rare for some reason. But also the fact that Huawei made a case for this foldable phone is fascinating to me, because just how? The other day, the Xiaomi Mi 9 became the fastest phone to ever run Gary Sims's Speed Test G. Well, that record lasted for about 3 days because the Galaxy S10 Plus took the Xiaomi Mi 9's lunch money, completing the series of tests 2.2 seconds faster. Now, both of these phones are powerhouses for sure, and both run the Snapdragon 855 processor, so it's safe to say that both will give you pretty good performance. But, Samsung is faster, so suck it, Xiaomi. And finally, this next story is about Facebook, but not in the usual Facebook is a terrible company way, even though there are echoes of that as well, and Facebook is a terrible company. But this is more of a humans are terrible people kind of way. The Verge interviewed a dozen current and former employees of a contractor for Facebook whose job it is to hand moderate content on the social network that's been flagged. In the case of one worker, who is training for a full-time job that pays $15 an hour, keep in mind, has to watch a video of a man being murdered and then tell the class full of other trainees why that video was bad. So let's unpack this. First, some human videotaped a man being murdered. Then a human, maybe the same one, maybe not, I don't know, thought, "Oh, I know, my friends and family would probably want to see this. I should put it on Facebook." And then someone else watched it, and this is the only silver lining of this particular cloud. They flagged it. Then a Facebook moderator had to watch it. And yeah, this is terrible, and it should be taken down. And those moderators have to watch video after video and read post after post of the bottom 1% of humanity. And then Facebook has the nerve to only pay these people $15 per hour, which, for context, in some states is the same pay as the moron who gives you chicken McNuggets instead of the hamburger you ordered. There's just so much wrong here. I'm just going to punt on this one, and we're just going to try again tomorrow. There's a lot of bad out there, folks. I'm not one of them, and neither, I hope, are you. So let's all just hug our loved ones tonight and be thankful that none of them work for Facebook. But I don't want to end on a sour note, so I'm going to give you some advice. Go to Twitter and search for the Museum of English Rural Life, or @TheMerl. That's TheMerl. Trust me, you'll thank me. So that is going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.